Hey, we're back to talk about the sustain pedal. If you missed part 1 of this series, I've linked it down below in the description. That part is all about why we should, as much as possible, use pedal in our practice. But today we're talking about the opposite. When is it a good idea to omit the pedal and go pedal free, fingers only? Now, these topics I'm going to tackle in order of level of advancement. So let's start with some beginner reasons to omit pedal. So the very first reason would be it's simply too difficult to play the right notes and the right rhythms and use the pedal at the same time. Now, I'm a huge fan of practicing as you intend to perform as soon as possible, but there are cases where it's just too difficult, bordering on impossible. So let's prioritize learning the right notes and the right rhythms and learning them cleanly right at the beginning of our study. Just like we talked about in the previous video, we want to feed our ears the right information about pitch and about rhythm. We want to feed our mind-body connection, the right information about movement. Then, when you're able, incorporate the pedal. My beginner students typically find that this becomes more possible after a week or two on a piece, when the hands and the fingers are a bit more automatic than they were upon the first sight read or even the first few playthroughs of a new piece. Now, as you continue to progress, the amount of time needed before pedaling becomes added should become shorter and shorter, and you should work to make that shorter. Secondly, for beginner, intermediate, and early advanced students, learning how to shape a phrase can best be done without pedal. Now, in these cases, we will usually tackle the melodic hand or texture alone. That could be the right hand, and it could be the left hand, and it could be, probably will be just one part of those hands, right? So we want to isolate the melody. And now when you spend time in this sort of practice, we're looking to hone our finger legato if the phrase requires it. So just how much overlap of tone do we want? This isn't a video about finger legato, but there are many different types of finger legato, right? So we can work on perfecting one type or exactly the type of legato that you're looking to present as you play through a phrase. And secondly, we can tune into exactly what legato means, all of the different ways that we need to create connection other than just the connection between tone. So for example, is the melody being sung with one intention? Is it moving forward and not stalling? Let me use some of the Chopin Nocturne example that we used in the previous video. So is the melody, if it's stalling, you might hear something like this. So in that time through, perhaps the little ornament in the middle of the melody is causing us to slow down, and there's a technical reason behind why that's happening that we can now isolate and work out. Or maybe we're just not hearing that the 16th notes should be spiraling forward in this case and lead us to the next downbeat, right? In either of those cases, isolating this can give us an opportunity to work on that, make sure the melody isn't holding back anywhere, but instead that we're feeling one pulse that leads us forward, and then, right, again. Are there any bumps or hiccups in dynamic that we need to even out? So if there are little bumps in dynamic, you might hear something like this. That E flat stuck out both of those times. It could happen in a variety of fingers. Right? Okay, so we can listen for those and we can say, I want to even those out. And first we might say, can I even them out and play everything linearly with all the same dynamic, and I can focus on that without pedal. Second part of that, can I go back and create the shape? This really kind of leads into my next question. Can I create the dynamic shape that I'd like the phrase to have? And can I do that in a very linear way instead of a jagged way? So that next question, my next question that I kind of just demonstrated, does the phrase that we're working on have enough dynamic change to show the emotional intention behind the phrase? Are we actually showing that? And if we're not, we have an opportunity to work on that as well. And what about rubato? Now, we don't necessarily have to work with rubato and melody alone without the pedal, but it won't hurt to add it to your list at this point. And rubato, you could almost think of it as it's kind of summing up a lot of the other questions we just asked and perhaps answered. But now we're filling all of that in with just one term or one idea. The rubato. Is the rubato showing the intention? Thirdly, now this seems like an obvious one, but a surprising number of students don't actually seem to hear it. I think because they're distracted by all of the physical movement that we have when we're playing, and that's that there's just too much blur and way too much dissonance in your playing. So for example, right? Everything is blurred together. In removing the pedal from the equation, we can actually get back to what the melodies and the harmonies are actually supposed to sound like together. Here we have a change in the bass, change in inversion, melody. Right? We can retrain our ears of what we should really be expecting, right? Harmonically and tonally, so that when we start to put the pedal back in, our ears are more likely to tell us mid-beat and mid-measure that we need to change the pedal. If you want to master your practice and learn more and in less time on the bench, I have a 6-hour in-depth course that is just the thing for you. The link to it is down below in the description of this video. I'd also encourage you to join the Next Level Pianist Academy membership that's over on Thinkific, where we have a dedicated community of like-minded piano students. We have live private Zoom workshops for members only. We have a chance to win a free lesson from me every month and you get access to every single course I've ever created, including the one on practicing that I just mentioned. That link to join the community and the membership, that's also down below in the description. Moving on to number 4. Now, this one and the next one are a bit related. Let's say that you're working on a technical passage that's difficult for you. Even early in the learning process, I like to mix pedal and non-pedal practice. With pedal, so that I train the tone color and how I hear that connection in the sound, but then without pedal to make sure that I'm really in tune with the sonic product that each of my fingers are producing on their own. Not only the fingers, but the whole playing mechanism, right? Are there inconsistencies I can work out right away before I have spent too much time learning? How is my voicing? How is the intention of what I'm playing? Are individual notes being released early? Are they being connected exactly the way I want? I don't want to let any of those issues creep into my playing that pedaling might mask. And so there was something I was working on for the channel a few weeks ago, and there's a passage in it that goes like this. Now, what I just played had a whole bunch of actually inconsistencies in it that I would work on. And when I was working that passage up, I would do some playthroughs slowly with the pedal down, like that. But then I would alternate by playing no pedal, maybe pedal the first one so I hear that harmony ring, but then let go. And now I can really hear all of the tiny little individual notes that might be speaking or might be speaking out of place, right? I want all of those to sound equally, and then I can start to work on shaping it as I build and build more speed. And then without pedal, as I would speed that up, it might turn into that was okay, I missed a couple. But then to show you again, if we put it back with pedal, a lot of those little inconsistencies get totally covered up if all I do is play with the pedal. And I don't hear when I miss that maybe one note out of 10 or 12 within a harmony or an arpeggio that I'm playing. If I miss one and it just flies by in time, but I'm really going to hear it if I let the pedal go, right? All right, the fifth one. You've practiced well, pedaling has been added for some time, but there might be some new inconsistencies creeping into your playing. And by this, I'm talking about inconsistencies in rhythm, rhythmic execution, that it's not even, that there are little hiccups in the rhythm, maybe inconsistencies in shape and tone, That could be in a phrase that you're trying to make, in an arpeggio, kind of like what I just showed you. These are probably going to be across a difficult passage. So it can be a great idea, even if you aren't perceiving any of those issues, to try out passages without pedal, because when we eliminate that extra color and all that sustain, we can more easily hear where those inconsistencies lie and then know what and how we need to practice them, right? So this number 5 and number 4 are similar in that number 4, we're working that sort of training of without pedal right from the beginning of practice. Number 5 is that after we've practiced a lot, remember to go and check things without pedal to discover if anything that you don't intend has creeped into your playing. Now, I know this video is not about using pedal, but I just need to point out, I said more easily hear where inconsistencies lie. I didn't say that you'll hear them because you take away the pedal, but that you'll more easily hear them without the pedal. That is to say that the goal is eventually, with good ear training in our practice, that we will no longer need to eliminate the pedal to work on those types of inconsistencies, or that we will need to eliminate the pedal on much more rare occasions to do that kind of work. There's a very important theme across this video and the previous one about using pedal. Have you picked up on it? It's that training our ears to really hear what's going on is paramount to learning to play the piano well. It seems obvious when I say it, but really let that sink in. Because too many students and teachers are focused solely on the movement of the hands or the movement of the feet. Those aren't really the answer. The answer is here. It's in training our ears. Our ears inform us of everything. Adding or removing pedal in your practice will only help you if you learn to listen. You learn how to listen and you learn what to listen for. Pedal-free practice is important. With pedal practice is equally important. Removing pedal without understanding why we're removing it is just a bad idea. Just like adding pedal without understanding why we're adding it is an equally bad idea. You can't learn how to master playing with the pedal unless you've practiced with the pedal. So when you choose to practice without pedal, know exactly what you're trying to accomplish. Also understand that what you work on without pedal will likely need to change in some way when you add pedal back in. Remember the Chopin example from the last video. Removing pedal in and of itself isn't a fix for your playing or your technique, but use it as a tool to help teach your ears what to hear and your hands the movements to make. And then learn to maintain that clarity and that focus when you do add pedal back in. I'm Charles Szczepanek, and you've been watching Pianist Academy, where we make elite piano concepts simple to understand. If you missed the first video in the series about the damper pedal, you can check it out right over here. Practice smarter, not harder, and I'll see you next time.